Hey everybody, today we are going to learn how to manage some users inside of Teams. So I'm going to start sharing out my screen so you can see what I see. Here we go. Here is Teams. This is our Teams training team that we use for videos like this one. Inside of that team, there are these ellipses menus over here on the side. Anytime you see that little three dot or ellipses menu inside of 365, the entire ecosystem, quite frankly, there's always going to be more options. So inside of here, you have the option to manage your team, add members, leave the team, edit the team, do all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to focus in today on managing the team, adding members, and also editing the team. So let's take a look at Manage Team first. Inside of here, it's going to tell us who our members are. Right now, we have 3 owners, Heidi, myself, and the training user. And we also have a couple of guests, which is the rest of our folks inside of here. Now, if for some reason you have your teams enabled so that people can request to join your team, you'll see those requests inside of here. Any of the channels that you have, they will show up inside of the channels tab. Right now we have general and recordings. The general channel comes with every single team. That is there by default. I created the recording one just to have recordings of any of the training classes that we have. Any specific settings inside of here you can adjust. For instance, you can put a team picture in. If you have specific permissions that you need to set up for different members, you can do that. Let's take a look at that for just a moment because those are fairly important. So if you have a general member, you can decide whether or not they are allowed to create or update channels. So for instance, if you have all of your channels set over here and you don't want those adjusted by anybody other than an owner, you'll want to turn that check mark off. If you don't want them to create private channels, make sure that is turned off. Any of the channels inside of a team, I'm going to pop over to the recordings channel right now, can be made to be a private channel. And what that means is that you can set permissions on that particular channel so that if you have a team of 9, but not the entire 9 need to have access to that particular channel, you can set it as private and lock it down so that different members of that particular team have permissions to just that channel. So that's what that is. All right. So back to managing our team inside of our channels and our settings for our member permissions. Let's see here. We want to make sure that you have permissions to delete and or restore channels turned off. If you don't want people deleting things, make sure that's turned off. If you do want them to be able to add apps, these are all on by default. So apps can be added into any part of any team, whether it's on the default tabs, whether it's on any of the channels. You can add in all kinds of apps from the App Store in Teams. If you have any questions about that, we're going to cover that in a separate video, so look for that one. You can allow members to create, update, and remove tabs. Now, inside of any channel, I'm going to pop over to this general channel. And if we look across the top up here, these are the different tabs. For instance, I have, by default, you always have a posts tab, a files tab. You have a wiki by default. I usually pull that one out because I don't use it for anything. In this case, I have a training library that connects back to a library inside of one of my SharePoint sites. I have another one called All Things Fish that also connects to um, a planner so that we could talk about planner, putting planner on one of your tabs. And then you can add additional pieces inside of here as well. That's what those do. Yeah, we're going to go back to manage team, into our settings, into our member permissions. And we talked about tabs. I'm going to cover connectors in a different video just because you can connect different pieces, parts from outside the web directly into your Teams to feed it information. You can also choose whether or not you're going to give your members the option to delete their messages. So as they are posting things in the channels, you can decide whether or not they are allowed to delete them. Depending on your organization, you may have a rule or a policy that says once something is written, it can't be removed just because it's part of that archive set, information set, or right to know policy. So be very careful with that one. And then you can also choose whether or not the members have the option to edit their messages. So that's how that functions. So inside of here, you also have the ability to do guest permissions. So, and what this says is if you have invited guests into your team, and that's people outside of your organization are always going to be called visitors or guests, that's the situation there. Whether you're going to allow them to create or update channels, my policy always is no. If you've invited somebody in, that's nice, but I don't think they need to be adjusting things inside of your organization unless it's somebody that technically is a volunteer that is working on behalf of your organization. Then you may give them, that type of responsibility or accountability depending on how you have an agreement set up with them. All right. So that's what your settings do. Analytics give you a little bit of information about the channel and the team to see what's touched more often, how large the file set is, what's in SharePoint, so on and so forth. And then the only other thing that we're going to talk about pretty much for today is how to add members. So I can add members in here simply by typing a name or a group. So for instance, if I wanted to add Dave, all I would have to do is start typing his name and I would be able to add that. If I wanted to add a group, like we've already created Agents of Shield, we could add the entire group in and it adds everybody in that group as well. If I want to add somebody from outside of my organization, all I would have to do is start typing in their email address. And then I would be able to add Nick Fury in as a guest to my organization. All right, last thing we're going to cover is edit the team. Inside of here, the only thing this really truly enables you to do is change the team name, change the description, or adjust the policy, the privacy policy. Right now it's set to private, which means that only team owners can add members. I can switch it over to public, meaning anybody in the organization can join should I want to. And that's it. That's how you adjust members inside of your team, add members to your team, and of course, you can remove them exactly the same way, which I didn't show you, but I will. So let's go back into manage the team. There's our members and guests. If I wanted to get rid of somebody, all I would need to do is come over here and click remove that person, and it removes them out of the team. That's it. All right. Have a great day. See you next time.